at the forefront of politics.
Our enemy is Trump. He is the enemy. We gotta unite. If we're not a united party, we lose to Trump.
On the front lines of activism.
There's certain fights, if we don't engage, they win. This is a fundamental question of who we are.
And delivering your daily dose of comedy.
Donald Trump, when he had his physical, they had his blood pressure, and mine is higher than his.
Oh.
And the irony is mine is higher because of him.
From the blue wave.
We flipped. Enough seats to take control of the House. We control the House.
To 2020 and beyond. This is the Dean Obeidallah Show on SiriusXM Progress, Channel 127.
And welcome to the show, brothers and sisters. Tuesday, October 15th. I'm Dean Obeidallah. As always, your needy MBFF. A lot to cover tonight. I'll always be on Twitter, of course, though, at Dean Obeidallah. Just want to throw that out there. Tonight, the debate. It's the October debate. The most candidates we've ever had on the stage at the same time. 12 will take the stage, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on CNN. We, of course, it will not play here, but you can listen to it on SiriusXM, on the CNN channel, of course. And then tomorrow night, we will play clips. We'll discuss it collectively, and we can break it down ourselves. So I want to talk about, we have a lot of guests tonight, but we have time for calls. We have Malcolm Nance at the top of next hour. And the former governor of Ohio will be here, John Kasich. Yes, he's a Republican, but he's here to talk about his book and talk about that and the GOP later in the hour. But today, Hunter Biden spoke on Good Morning America. And more clips will play later today on other ABC shows. And here's my big point, folks. Forget Hunter Biden. There needs to be an investigation into Ivanka Trump. And I'm being responsible. I'm not saying lock her up. I'm not saying she's committed crimes. I'm saying there's clear conflicts of interest that have occurred. In fact, there's been formal complaints filed against her by watchdog groups that have not been investigated by the House Democrats. And they might be because they feel like it's too partisan, or you do that, it just looks like it's a game and they're screwing around. It's not. If it was anyone else in the White House, I think they would be calling this person before the House Oversight Committee. And they should not make an exception because it is Donald Trump's daughter. In fact, because it is Donald Trump's daughter, I think you need even more so you need this investigation to make it clear no one's treated differently. No one's above the law. We have the same ethical standard for every person. But let's play a couple of clips of Hunter Biden today on Good Morning America. First, here he is asked about his qualifications to be on the Ukrainian National Gas Board, and he responds this way. Clip number 1, please.
What were your qualifications to be on the board of Purisima?
Well, I was vice chairman of the board of Amtrak for 5 years. I was the chairman of the board of the UN World Food Program. I was a lawyer for Boies Schiller Flexner, one of the most prestigious law firms in the world.
You didn't have any extensive knowledge about natural gas or Ukraine itself, though.
No, but I think that I had as much knowledge as anybody else that was on the board, if not more.
And then he's asked the question about, do you think you got this job because your last name is Biden? Which is a very fair question. And here is his honest response. Clip number 2, please.
In the list that you gave me of the reasons why you're on that board, you did not list the fact that you were the son of the vice president.
Of course, yeah. No.
What role do you think that played?
I think that it is impossible for me to be on any of the boards that I just mentioned without saying that I'm the son of the Vice President of the United States.
You were paid $50,000 a month for your position?
Look, I'm a private citizen. One thing that I don't have to do is sit here and open my kimono as it relates to how much money I make or did or didn't. But it's all been reported.
If your last name wasn't Biden, do you think you would have been asked to be on the board of Purisima?
I don't know. Probably not. I don't think that there's a lot of things that would have happened in my life that if my last name wasn't Biden.
Why did you leave the board in April?
It's a 5-year term.
And you chose not to?
I chose
continue.
not to. Yeah.
Why?
I think it's pretty obvious why.
This is your opportunity to say why.
Well, because this is what becomes a distraction, because I have to sit here and answer these questions. And so that's why I've committed that I won't serve on any boards or I won't work directly for any foreign entities when my dad becomes president.
Now, if you watch the whole interview, at least what's been released of it, he comes across pretty well. A little defensive here and there, but honest, credible. I think one of the most, later he talks about maybe it was an ethical lapse in the big picture type of thing. Not that he did anything wrong at the time in his view. Am I troubled by the fact, from an ethical point of view, that the son of the vice president served on a board that in a country where the vice president at that time, his mandate was the Ukraine? Yeah, this doesn't look good. It's nothing illegal. It's nothing violating conflict of interest laws. Those apply to people in government. Does it look good? No. Is it the biggest deal now, 3 years later? Not really. because there's no criminality, any hint of that. Just didn't look good. And it's things that don't look good come back to haunt you. They're actually harder to explain. If you're charged with a crime and acquitted, you're like, well, look at this. I went to court. I had my day in my trial, and I was acquitted. We're done, right? But these kind of things, these clouds hang over people. I thought he did a good job. So he did announce on Sunday, by the way, Hunter Biden, that he will step down from his position on a Chinese-backed private equity firm to avoid any other conflicts. And of course, Trump was tweeting yesterday and today, not a lot today about it. I thought he would tweet more about Hunter Biden, tweeted a little bit, but he did go after Hunter Biden. And, last week, Lindsey Graham, Trump's BFF, was saying he wants to have hearings in his committee that he's chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee on this, quote, to know whether or not there was a conflict of interest when Joe Biden called a prosecutor in the Ukraine. And he said, I want to know if his work in China is on the up and up. That was Lindsey Graham's words, without any hint whatsoever of irony. Look, Lindsey Graham and Republicans, if you're concerned about conflict of interest, you don't have to go back in time to 2016. You don't have to travel thousands of miles from the United States of America to look into it involving the child of a president or vice president. Guess where you've got it? You've got it a half a mile away in the current administration, and that person's Ivanka Trump. And again, I'm going to go through here everything backed up by nonprofit, nonpartisan watchdog groups. I am not here saying lock her up. I'm not saying she should go to jail. I'm saying she should be investigated because she is in the White House. And as opposed to Donald Trump Jr. and the kids who are clearly profiting off their name, the same laws do not apply to them. They are not in the service of the government. They're not in our service as public servants. You are held to a different standard. If you do not want that standard, you do not accept a job in the government. It's that simple. So while Donald Trump Jr. is up there making money and Eric Trump and using the Trump name and the president, and I'm sure no doubt everyone gets it. They're dealing with the kids and in Curry's favor. It's despicable. It's Trump, but it's probably not a crime, or it's probably not even a violation of ethical rules. Let's go through some of the incidences here that are all documented. No exaggeration. I'm not going to exaggerate any of this because I don't want to. I just want to lay out the facts about Ivanka Trump. So when you hear them talk about Hunter Biden, then ask those same people, why are you not calling for investigation into a person in the White House right now today? Here's one example. 4 months into the Trump administration, she's there at Mar-a-Lago, sitting with the president of China, President Xi, and her father. On that very day, she's granted approval for 3 new trademarks covering jewelry, bags, and spa services for her company, Ivanka Trump Marks. Coincidence? We don't know. Was that the way of the Chinese president currying favor with the father? Perhaps. Did they fear saying no to her would hurt their relationship with the United States of America? Probably. That's why you have investigations. June, so that was 4 months in, May 2018. There's Donald Trump saying he's going to make a deal with the Chinese government and then made a deal with the Chinese government dealing with the Chinese telecom company ZTE and allowing them, getting rid of sanctions, saying they could buy American goods. What happens then? They announce this, and guess what? She gets 7 new trademarks within these few days of him saying, we're talking to the Chinese government and we're maybe going to let ZTE, this big Chinese government-owned company, do more business in America. And then they grant it, and she gets 7 preliminary approvals of trademarks. And the organization I want to cite for you is called Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, CREW. Nonprofit, nonpartisan organization. CREW said at the time in their statement that the potential conflicts her business interests present are alarming, saying that this has no place. She continues to receive profits from her business while working in the U.S. government. So she had stepped down. So it's clear for everyone. May 2018, she had stepped down from heading her company, but she was still profiting from her company. When about 2 months later, she announces she's going to shut down the company in July of 2018. But in June 2018, a month before, what happens? She gets 2 trademarks from Japan. No one talks about that. They talk about China. She gets from Japan. As CREW noted, the trademarks were approved, quote, around the time of Vice President Mike Pence's February visit to Japan and meeting with the Japanese Prime Minister. Coincidence or not? Is this again the Japanese to curry favor with the father to get better deals on trade, like we just announced a trade deal with Japan just about a month ago? Did they grant these trademarks, which are valuable, to the daughter? This should not be happening. We don't have this. It continues. July 2018, she announces she's going to shutter her fashion brand. But still, between 2018 and 2019, she gets 34 new trademarks from China, covering a wide range of items, from child care centers to sunglasses to voting machines. Why in the world is Ivanka Trump getting a trademark for a voting machine? She's about clothing and fashion, but she got a voting machine? Are those voting machines going to be used in the United States of America in our elections at some point? We're not sure. Now, these trademarks, while the company is closed down, it's still intellectual property. It is valuable. And she could restart this company. Where these 34 trademarks, and everything I've read, they're challenging to get from the government of China. Again, to curry favor with her father, they're in the midst of China trade war going on. Now, beyond these conflicts, which deserve some investigation, and again, I'm not suggesting a crime. We don't have that evidence, and I'm very measured when it comes to facts about the law. Beyond this, Crew has filed, this nonpartisan group, 2 formal complaints alleging that Ivanka Trump has violated federal law in 2 different places. In January of this year, Crew asserted that she appears to have violated federal conflict of interest laws, 18 U.S. Code 208. And what she did, what Crew is alleging, is that this law prohibits an executive branch employee like herself from participating personally and substantially in any matter that an employee or their spouse can financially benefit. Well, they allege that Ivanka Trump participated in the Trump administration's implementation of a new tax law authorizing opportunity. Jared's got a company, financial interests that are going to benefit from this very program that she's working on in the White House. Why would you not just recuse yourself from corruption? They think they're above the law. Ivanka thinks she's above the law. Donald thinks he's above the law. The kids live whatever hedonistic life that has nothing to do with the law. Now, Crew called for the Department of Justice to investigate this because this is actually a violation of federal conflict of interest laws. The DOJ under Bill Barr is not going to investigate Ivanka Trump because we no longer have a working federal government. We have a Trump regime that covers for each other. And then in June, just a few months ago, Crew filed another formal complaint alleging Ivanka violated the Hatch Act, which prohibits federal employees from doing any partisan activity. And they wanted an investigation because Ivanka was using her social media account, which she uses for official business, to help her father's reelection campaign about Make America Great and all that kind of garbage. And as Crew executive director Noah Bookbinder stated at the time, Ivanka Trump has basically thumbed her nose at the rule of law. And it's not a surprise because look who her father is. And other things that I think smack everyone. I don't care if you're left or right. They smack you as troubling. I'm not sure if there's a crime. I'm not sure it violates conflict of interest laws. But in 2018, for a second, her and her husband made $135 million. Was any of that because of the Trump name that they're in the White House? And last year alone, Ivanka earned $4 million from the Trump Hotel in Washington, where we know documented just to curry favor with the father, and then it's trickling down to her as well. This should not be happening. I won't even do whataboutism. The idea of what about if it was Hillary Clinton? She was president and you had Chelsea doing this. Barack Obama's children were too young for this. But what if anyone who was related to the Obamas was profiting like this? Would the Republicans not go crazy? And this is what's remarkable to me. Why is Joe Biden not calling this out? You can say, my son did nothing wrong, but I want a full investigation to what Ivanka Trump has done. Put the Trumps on the defensive. Take the fight to them. Instead of being defensive all the time. That's what I think Joe Biden should do. And I can understand. Look, I get the argument the other side. It looks like you're being really ridiculously partisan by doing that. No, you can cite Crew. You can say, Hunter Biden, my son's done nothing wrong. It's been investigated. But nonpartisan watchdogs, ethical watchdog companies have filed complaints against Ivanka Trump, and it should be investigated. And if the DOJ won't do it because they can't do it, they should recuse themselves and allow either a special counsel to do it or a U.S. attorney, say, in Northern Virginia or someplace where there might be an appointee of Trump, but you have a sense that they are independent. Something along those lines. He can take the fight to them while reminding America at the very same time, look at this administration. It is the most corrupt administration we've ever seen. The kids are making money On the outside, that's troubling. On the inside, that's a violation of conflict of interest laws. This cannot be America. We cannot allow this nation to become a banana republic where the kids of the dictator profit in the terms of millions of dollars because their father is the leader of the country. That cannot be acceptable. It should not be acceptable if a Democrat did that. It would not be acceptable. And if people on the right go, what about Hunter Biden? Hunter Biden was not working in the government. Joe Biden was. There's not even a hint that he profited off anything. And Hunter Biden's been investigated. She's there now. So Republicans, if you want to investigate the child of people in power for potential conflicts, do not. You don't need a time machine. You don't need to travel to the Ukraine. You can do it right here in the White House. Less than a mile, you can see the White House from the offices of Congress and say, I want to have Ivanka Trump call before the House Oversight Committee to answer questions. And if they want to do it behind closed doors, I have no problem because Democrats control the committee and produce documents and then release the documents to the press. That's fine because I'm telling you, I'm not here saying lock her up. I'm not saying she's a criminal. I'm saying this just is brazen, in our face, unethical conduct, which must be investigated. And I want the Democrats to challenge them on this. And not because they brought up Hunter Biden, because it's the right thing to do. Because if you don't, you've normalized this. Do you really want a government where the President of the United States' children works in the White House and is making millions of dollars off the name and getting trademarks from foreign governments that the president is working with those countries, they're negotiating trade deals, and you're still getting trademarks? Come on. This is like ethics 101. This should not be happening. She should, and that's another thing. Once they're gone, the Trumps, there's so many laws that have to be implemented. And one has to be that if you're president, you have to divest of any company. You cannot own it. And your children or anyone working in your family in the White House, and we need anti-nepotism laws, but say there's a kid who's really, really great at something and can contribute to our country. Well, they can work in the government. I don't have a problem with that if they divest completely of any ownership, not even a blind trust, gone. There's no profit incentive whatsoever. That's how you have ethical behavior. This is not. All right, let's take a break. We got a lot of guests. We're gonna have time for phone calls in between guests. I promise you I want to talk to you about the debate tonight, what you want to see. I'd love to hear your reaction to this, though. Does it seem too partisan for Democrats to call Ivanka Trump to testify? I'd love to hear from you. 866-997-4748. Give me a call. You're listening to the Dino Bidala Show, where we crush Trump's lies every single day.
On SiriusXM.